Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, ananta-rūpa ki jai. Shishi Pralad Lakshmi Nrsimhadeva ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki jai, Gaur Premanande. Disappeared. It appeared. Okay, so Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This evening we are reading from Bhagavad-gita. How fortunate we are. Hearing from Lord Krishna. Actually today, no, we're hearing from Arjuna. This is chapter 11, the universal form. And this is verse number 38, is it? Okay, let's chant this together. This is these are not Anushtup. These are Trishtup meter. These prayers. Oh, I was hoping there wouldn't be one of these. Okay. Krishna, thank you. Tvam ādi-devaḥ puruṣaḥ purāṇas. Tvam ādi-devaḥ puruṣaḥ purāṇas. Tvam asya viśvasya paraṁ nidhānam. Tvam asya viśvasya paraṁ nidhānam. vettāsi vedyam cha paraṁ cha dhāma. Vettāsi vedyam cha paraṁ cha dhāma. Tvayā tatam viśvam ananta-rūpa. Tvayā tatam viśvam ananta-rūpa. Now it's your turn to lead. Puruṣaḥ purāṇas. ādi-devaḥ puruṣaḥ purāṇaḥ. viśvasya param nidhānam. All right, word for word. Tvam, you. Ādi-devaḥ, the original Supreme God. Puruṣaḥ, personality. Purāṇaḥ, old. Tvam, you. Asya, of this. Viśvasya, universe. Param, transcendental. Nidhānam, refuge. Vettā, the knower. Asya, you are. Vedyam, the knowable. Cha, and. Param, transcendental. Cha, and. Dhāma, refuge. Tvayā, by you. Tatam, pervaded. Viśvam, the universe. Ananta-rūpa, O unlimited form. Translation: And purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: You are the original personality of Godhead, the oldest, the ultimate sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You are the knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are the supreme refuge above the material modes. O limitless form, this whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. Prabhupada explains, everything is resting on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, He is the ultimate rest. Nidhānam means that everything, even the Brahman effulgence, rests on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the knower of everything that is happening in this world. And if knowledge has any end, He is the end of all knowledge. Therefore, He is the known and the knowable. He is the object of knowledge because He is all-pervading. Because He is the cause in the spiritual world, He is transcendental. He is also the chief personality in the transcendental world. And so ends Prabhupada's purport to this verse. Okay. Tvam ādi-devaḥ puruṣaḥ purāṇas tvam asya viśvasya paraṁ nidhānam vettāsi vedyam paraṁ dhāma tvayā tatam viśvam ananta-rūpam. Arjuna is in a special kind of mood because of the special nature of what he sees and what he has just heard. This chapter is called the Universal Form, Virat. What is it? Virat Rupa Yoga. There's different sorts of universal form, and this one is a very dramatic form, because in this display of His universal form, Lord Krishna is essentially swallowing everything. He's like opened His mouth and He's swallowing up everything. So it's a especially terrifying form. And why is He showing this? Well, what's the situation? The context. The context is there's about to be a big battle, and it's going to be a very destructive battle. It's going to be what in the Mahabharata is sometimes referred to as Rana Yajna. Rana means battlefield. Yajna means yajna, a sacrifice of battle. It's going to be very destructive, and Krishna has just before this declared that this is the case. It's going to be destructive. Why? Because kalosmi lokakshayakrit pravidha lokam samahartum iha pravitta. time I am, kalo asmi, the great destroyer of the worlds, loka kshaya krit. Pravidha, loka kshaya krit, the great destroyer. And why does he say this? Because Arjuna asked him, who are you? He says, okay, you want to know. This is who I am. I am kala, I am time. And that word kala, indicating time, specifically indicates the destructive force of time. So, this is a battlefield. There's going to be great destruction. It's going to happen because of the time factor, we may say. And what's behind the time factor? It's Krishna, the Lord himself. And so he is appropriately, because he's been asked by Arjuna to show this Virat Rupa, it's appropriate that he shows that aspect of it which is destructive. And Arjuna is expressing his amazement. I suppose if we wanted to reflect on this, especially 11th chapter, in terms of rasa, we could say that this is adbhuta rasa. It is the rasa of wonder. He is amazed. He is awestruck. You know this word awe, A-W-E? Awe and veneration. Huh? Ehrfurcht, yeah. So he's in that condition of awe and veneration, which is forced, you can say, by his own his own request. He wanted to see this form. In effect, you can say the Lord was, you sure you want? Sure you want to see this? Okay. Brace yourself. So this is the situation. But Arjuna is, despite this shocking situation, he hasn't lost his powers of speech. He's speaking very eloquently, and in his speech he's addressing Krishna. The first word is tvam. And it's interesting, I think, that it's tvam and not bhavan. Tvam is the familiar form of second person addressing you, and bhavan would be the formal. Not sure, I think bhavan also appears in the Gita. And you'd sort of expect him now, he's in awe and veneration, so he might address with the formal bhavan, but no, it's the informal, the familiar. So we may want to say he's not forgetting his very close relation with the Lord, despite his awe, being awestruck. He hasn't forgotten that his real relationship is that of friendship with the Lord. Sa evayam mayatedya yoga prokta puratana bhakto sime sakhacha iti rahasyam hi etad uttamam. Thank you. Sakha, you are my friend. One explanation of the word sakha, interesting explanation. Sa can mean with, and ka can indicate eating. So a sakha is the sort of friend that you could sit down together with to have a meal. in traditional Indian culture, people are very careful who they eat with and who they don't eat with. So a Sakha is that sort of friend you can sit down and have a meal with. In any case, that's how Arjuna is described. So, and that is why Krishna speaks the Gita to Arjuna. And that's what is explained in the 4th chapter. So, remembering that, he's now, however, praising with exalted words appropriate for what he sees. Ādi-devaḥ, puruṣaḥ, purāṇaḥ, asya viśvasya, param nidhānam, and vetā asi. Asi is a verb. You are. What are you? You are vettā. You are a knower. A person who knows. We may remember the verse from 15th chapter. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedya vedanta krit vedavit eva cha aham. There, Krishna is declaring himself to be a knower, and now Arjuna is saying, you are a knower. And Prabhupada is translating it, not just that he is a knower of everything. Which is not said in the verse, but it may be in the commentaries. In any case, it's implied in this verse from the 15th chapter. Aham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani chabhutani mam tu veda nakaschana. I know all living beings, past, present, future. Me? Nobody knows. So, one of the attributes, one of the characteristics, features of Krishna, of God, is that he is knower of everything. The English word for this is omniscience. There's in modern theology, public discourse about the nature of God, there is an expression, perfect being theology, as the sort of starting point. So how should we understand God? Okay, let's start out by assuming that for someone to be qualified as God, one thing is they have to be omnipotent, all-powerful. One is they have to be omniscient, all-knowing. And in some cases, they will say, I forget the term now, that he is aloof from everything and therefore not experiencing suffering. So this is actually, you could say, this part of the Gita is kind of a declaration of perfect being theology. So let's see. Yeah, it's also in the form of a list. In a sense, you are this, and you are this, and you are this, and you are this. You are so many things. And now someone could question, he's speaking to Krishna, right? Doesn't Krishna already know this? Arjuna is telling him, you're the Supreme Lord. So does Krishna not know this already? Maybe he needs reminding. Oh, I forgot, I'm the Supreme Lord. No, that wouldn't be the reason. It would be more that although he's speaking, technically he's speaking to Krishna, but really he's speaking to us. And he's doing this to, he's describing the Lord in this way to emphasize his supremacy. All the different aspects of what it means to be God, he's elaborating. And we could call this kirtan. Kirtan, he's glorifying the Lord. I was just hearing a nice discussion of three devotees about, not about the Gita, it was not about the Bhagavad-gita, but about the Gopi-gita. But the point was being made, I think it was Madhavananda Prabhu, that in Chaitanya Lila, we see two kinds of kirtan, or sankirtan. One is private and one is public. And that it's Lord Chaitanya's career, so to say, his preaching, started out private in the house of Srivas Thakur. They had their nocturnal kirtans, and it was behind closed doors. And it was by invitation only. You wouldn't be let in unless you had your invitation card. Mm-hmm. But you could say the ecstasy of his private kirtan was too much to contain. And so it sort of burst out into public, and it became the Sankirtan movement, which then spread by Lord Chaitanya's desire and by his mercy, first through Navadvip and then through what is now India and so on. And then Lord Chaitanya returns to Puri, and in his final years, again his kirtan becomes private. And it becomes most private in his residence, the Gambhira. So we could ask, so what kind of kirtan is this kirtan of Arjuna's? Is it public or private? Well, it seems to me it's quite public. It's on a battlefield. It's in between the armies. How much everyone could hear this, but Dhritarashtra is hearing, Sanjaya is hearing, and he's relating. So it's available, and of course then it becomes available to us. So that's very nice. But we may wonder about this private side of kirtan because Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam, and several times Guhya, this confidentiality, is emphasized in the Gita. What I'm teaching you is confidential, this most confidential knowledge. As, for example, I have to support what I'm saying, otherwise you may not believe me. Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyataram maya vimrishyai tat acheshena yatechasi tata kuru. Krishna says, Shri Shri Bala Lakshmi Nrsimhadev ki jai. Krishna says to Arjuna, thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Guhyat, guhyataram. And then he says, that was guhyat, guhyataram, and then verse 64, this is 18th chapter. Sarva guhyatamam bhuyaha shrinu me paramam vacha ishto asi me nidhānam iti tato vakshami te hitam. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, paramam vacha, the most confidential knowledge of all, sarva guhyatamam. So there's guhya, there's guhyatara, and there's guhyatamam. Guhya means confidential, guhyatara means more confidential, and guhyatamam means most confidential. So here he says it's most confidential. And what's the most confidential knowledge? Well, it's not very confidential because we know what it is, you may say. Or we can understand it's confidential because even you may hear what it is. If you don't really imbibe it, you won't get it. So what is that confidential knowledge? Manmana bhava matbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru Mame viśvasya satyam te pratijane priyosi me. Always think of me. Become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. Mam eva ishyasi. You'll come to me without fail. Pratijane, I promise you this. Because priya asi, you are dear to me. And then sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja ahang tvang sarvavapevyo mokshaishami mahasrucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. That's confidential knowledge. So there's two sides, I think. There's a public side, and then there's this kind of privacy to this knowledge. And privacy or confidentiality suggests something to cherish, something to really, you want to protect it, you want to nurture it carefully. And this, I believe, is what is important for us, to have the sense that here is something we need to, for ourselves, to nourish, to, cherish and nourish. Nourish and cherish. How would you say cherish in wertschätzen? Any other word? Cherish. Wertschätzen, okay. So, right, those are a few points. Maybe I stop here and see if there's any reflections. Just a few comments.
I'd like to ask you, mentioned now the differences in the different moods, like external and more internal. My question is, for us maybe, can be there some difference in our kirtan, now the singing of the holy names, when we do it external, or maybe internal in small circle, in some more small circles, like more private? But like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had also similar, like that he had public big kirtans, and also his...
Yeah, the most public of Lord Chaitanya's kirtan that's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, well, there's two. One is the Navadvip kirtans. They would go about, and the way Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat describes that there were thousands of people. Hard to imagine. And the other is of course Jagannath Ratha-yatra in Puri. And in Puri it's interesting because there are these two aspects going on in Puri. He's in the earlier time in Puri, there's more public. Lord Chaitanya is more visible. He is with his associates. He is in the temple. They're doing kirtan in the temple. That's also public. And then Ratha Yatra, and the devotees are coming from Bengal for Ratha Yatra. So it's quite a, and then there's all these, how many? 7 different kirtan parties like that. It's a big, you can imagine what we call wampers and so on, and so many mridangas. And then there was his kirtan amongst his close associates. And you've seen, I think, this very nice painting that shows Lord Chaitanya with Gadadhar Pandit, Nityananda Prabhu, I think, is there, and a few other devotees, and Haridas Thakur is there. And they're reading Bhagavatam. I believe Gadadhar Pandit is the one who is reciting, he's reading out from a manuscript. And in the very front, doing Dandavat, you see King Prataparudra. He's offering his Dandavats to the devotees. So it's this small group. It's an intimate group, but it shows the king being present. I've heard it said that painting was commissioned by the king. He wanted to show himself, as being in this intimate circle, so to say. That's common in Europe, you see. The kings were always having their portrait painted together with the Pope or whatever, or with some saints. And then, as I said, the most intimate, his closest associates were Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar. And with these two devotees specifically, he would have his deepest, we can say, deepest kirtan in the Gambhira, hearing and relishing the Bhagavatam, actually. So you're wondering how to relate this to ourselves? Well, we have smaller groups, and we have larger groups, and we have public. We go on the streets and do Harinam, that's public. So both are there, and both are valuable, and we are enriched by all of them in different ways, by these different sorts of kirtan in different ways. Yeah. But
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lovely evening class.
Lovely.
Yeah, it is. So my question is actually about the same topic. Like, I don't want to exaggerate, but once I heard even saying, a kirtan without the proper mood of the chanters is not even called kirtan, because, like, I was reflecting, like, we're doing kirtan and the intention of, let's say, the small group is to glorify the Lord, and then you see somebody sitting in the back having a conversation, or not present in the kirtan in the same room, or either also, let's say, also chanting along but not really with any,
not really there,
not really there, or even worse, to show off or something. So what to do in such case? Like, I know it sounds selfish.
Grab
and
them
proud.
by the neck, pull them in.
I'm sorry, it may sound selfish and proud, but and of course I don't have any devotion while chanting, but what to do in such cases, because you don't feel any connection.
Well, I would say the first thing is worry first about yourself, not about others. And kirtan, sankirtan is not something artificial. If we focus on pleasing the Lord, as we do so, that will be attractive to the Lord. And if the Lord is attracted, He may attract others to participate in that kirtan. Well, I suppose so many things could be said, but that would be the main thing, I would say. Let's focus on our own effort in pleasing the Lord by kirtan. And with that, part of pleasing the Lord is being inviting, so encouraging others to participate. And this can be, again, it doesn't have to be artificial, but we can encourage others, sometimes just with a glance, come on, let's go. Sometimes you grab a devotee by the arm and pull them in. And there's different ways. We see when there's a really rocking kirtan and devotees are in a circle, and then they'll have one after another devotees dancing in the middle. Come on, you're next, you. I like to see my godbrother Krishna Swami. He just loves kirtan. All kinds of kirtan. Every opportunity, let's have kirtan. And he likes to get everyone involved. He says, come on, get in here. And often it just takes like that, a little encouragement, and then one feels involved. You have to experiment. We also see, speaking of public kirtan, if you ever go out on Harinam with Indra Swami, he'll have everything quite organized. And part of his organizing is that some of the ladies are sort of given the task that when they're having kirtan in one place and the public are standing around and looking, then the ladies go, when they see children, they invite the children to come, and then they have them sort of in a very gentle way, sort of dancing in a circle, and the ladies guide them. And in this way get them involved. And because the kids are involved, the parents are involved. The parents of those kids, they're naturally, there's my little whatever, my little treasure is there. And then they're taking pictures. So that's a way of involvement. We in public kirtan we'll sometimes do kirtan for a while and then stop, and then someone will speak for a couple of minutes explaining to the public what's going on, inviting them to participate. Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur explains the word samkirtan as meaning both congregational samkirtan and as complete description or complete glorification. The word kirta means simply to describe, and it can also mean to glorify, to praise. So a complete description, samkirta, is what is aimed for. And that complete description is there in the Maha Mantra. It's complete, and at the same time there's other ways of describing. For example, these verses in the Bhagavad-gita are describing. So in a sense, there's never completeness. The Ananta-Shesha is constantly glorifying the Lord with how many heads, and he's never coming to the end. So how can it be complete? Well, it's complete and it's becoming more complete. So we encourage everyone, come and help make this glorification of the Lord more complete. Let's if we can all join in, we make it more and more complete. Is that okay? Right. Any other reflections, thoughts? Yes, Gauranga.
I mean, it's not directly related to the class, but to the user. So my question is, Prabhupada said, in the end of his life, only 50% is left with one ashram. My question is regarding the varnas, the material identity, and the ahankara. So my question is that we often refer to as the ahankara as, extremely negative, just get rid of it, like the false ego, it's connected to pride. My question is there also a place for the ego in a sattvic way, like in a healthy way, as a stepping stone to spirituality? Or is it really like ahankara means like really it's connected to pride and it's just
all nasty things.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the Veda Stuti, Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 87, there's a question. Maharaj Parikshit asks, how is it possible for the Veda to describe Brahman, which is beyond all of the categories, the jati, the guna, the kriya, and the dravya, of this world. And then the rest of the chapter is answering that question, although in a rather indirect way, I think. But starting with the second verse, it gives an indirect answer that the Lord creates the mind, the intelligence, and he doesn't mention ego, mind, intelligence, and senses, and prana, these four things. For two purposes. One is as instruments for the living entities, for the jivas, to fulfill their desires. And the second reason is for liberation, so that they can, through these facilities, through these tools, they can attain liberation. So one could extrapolate, one could say, well, by that logic, then also the ahamkara would have a function. It has a function in this world of giving us identity by which we can go about our business. And in that sense, it's kind of neutral. And even the literal translation, ahamkara, I am the doer. It could be translated that way. I am the doer. So that's sort of true. We have agency, and we also have agency as pure spirit soul. That's the Gaudiya Vaishnava understanding. The Advaitavadins, the Mayavadis, they take it that we have no agency, because ultimately we are Brahman, and Brahman is just consciousness, and it doesn't do anything. There's no object of that consciousness. It's conscious of itself. No, we say the self, Atma, Jiva, is conscious and consciousness and is an agent. So to say I am the doer is not false, even for the liberated soul. Prabhupada translates with the word ego. Translations, there's always a challenge with translation. It may not entirely cover the original meaning. But I don't know if that answers your question. Yes, I think it can be taken in a more neutral sense. The danger is just like with the mode of goodness. If we get too comfortable with the mode of goodness, that's also not what we want, right?
Do you feel that's the problem of the devotees, that they're too much in the mode of goodness and they struggle, therefore? No, well, thank you very much. This was very wonderful.
Hare Krishna. Right. Yes, Akila.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. To bring this point a little further, could one say that the spirit soul is active by desiring? Is that the activity of the soul, to desire?
Well, we can say that's the beginning of agency, and then in pure consciousness, that desire is, of course, to please the Lord, to serve the Lord, So that's where instead of kama we have prema, and the desire is to please the senses of the Lord instead of our own senses. And then, having that desire, okay, I want to please the senses of the Lord. Atasya Krishna namadi nabhave grahyam indriya sevan mukhehi jivado svayameva spuratyada. We begin with the tongue engaging, doing something. And then, how does the verse start? Rishikena rishikesha sevanam. So anyway, serving the Lord of the senses with our senses. There's agency there as well. And Krishna says in the Gita, he's just said in verse, was it 34? 33? Yeah, after he says, I'm time and I'm going to destroy everything, tasmat tvam uttishta yasholabhasva jitva shatrun bhunkshva rajang samridham mayai vaite nihataha purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Nimitta, Prabhupada translates as the cause, just the cause. And I think, in the translation of the verse, instrument, just be an instrument, nimitta. And that could also, technically, the word karta is translated as agent, one who acts. Karta, kartre. But nimitta is also suggesting, be my agent, be my instrument. There's agency, there's responsibility there. Even though you are left-handed, savyasachi, you are bogan shutsa, who can shoot left-handed and right-handed. Yeah. Right. So, thank you all. And thank you all for allowing me to be here the last 2 weeks. I've been sort of a little bit reclusive most of the time I've been here. For whatever reason. But I'm appreciating what all of you are doing here, serving Lord Nrsingadev. It's wonderful. So tomorrow morning I'm heading off, and I'll be back as soon as I can. Whenever that will be. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhagavad-gita ki jai, Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Nrsingadev ki jai, Simhachalam Dham ki jai, Gaur Premanande.
Krishna Kshetra Maharaj ki jai.